Hey guys, Re-Education of a Nation, how's it going today? As you noticed in the title, currently the topic of the day is going to be Colin Kaepernick, the NFL, and Jay-Z. Guys, I don't know how to explain this to you in any better way, but nothing adds up. Now, there's a lot of things you can sit there and say and do and try to justify what happened, but nothing seemed like it was on the up and up. From every article that I've read, from every report that I've read, to the Wall Street Journal, the Black Enterprise, it has been a total cluster. Now, when I first saw it, and I'm looking up, guys, like it, love it, share it. When I first saw the interview or saw the headlines, it kind of threw me off as to what was going on. Okay, Colin Kaepernick's going to work out. A couple NFL teams are looking at him, and I don't think I ever heard it being conducted that way. So to me, it sounded like, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, Marcus Johnson, how's it going, brother? Don't forget to share the post. A lot of people, like when you hear about workouts, typically they're individual. They are with the team that's looking at recruiting them. They either go there or the person, the prospect goes to the team and does the workout. But this was something different. And the reason why I say that is because, hey, Marcus, how's the volume, by the way? The reason why I say that is this. When you sit there and you think about it, what was the goal behind this type of workout? What was the purpose of this type of workout? And when I read that it had something to do with the NFL, the collusion, the waivers to be signed so they couldn't be sued, it's more than one thing. And so with all that being said, a lot of times you got to sit there and think about what's the purpose behind what is going on. Hey, Marcus, how's that volume? I'm working with, hey, Damien, how's the volume going? I'm using a new microphone. I want to make sure everything is going great. So, do I agree with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee? Let's back all the way up. Yes, I do. Do I feel that the NFL has some rights regarding an employee? Yes, I do as well. So it is a toss-up. And I know one of my friends watching that we've had this conversation a couple times, and whoa, there's the microphone popping out. We've had this conversation a couple times, and basically because he is an employee, he's on the job. So I get that. And that's Damien and I've had that conversation. Now, here's the deal. Now that we've passed that point, now that we have gotten past he's taken a knee, he works for someone, what have you done to make sure he doesn't get a job? Now, I'm good with people taking a stance. I'm good with all these things. But what I'm not good with is corporate corruption and the inclusion case that clearly the NFL was trying to get out of. Now, what I really don't like, and this is what's going to probably piss a lot of people off, I do not support Jay-Z's stance on this anymore. I have not supported it since he became part of the plantation by joining the NFL. See, you have to think about the fact that probably 75 to 80%, I'm probably high on that number, hope I'm not, of the players in the NFL are black. You would think you would have a more open stance against police brutality than you do. But because the majority of your fans are not black, and you know the racial ties that are there, you're kind of caught between getting paid and something else. My issue wasn't it just that he was on the job. If he was also a protester, and I get that. And I get that, Damien. We talked about that. If he was doing it outside, and he clearly does things in the public to help the public eye. I mean, to help with people in in local areas. He does a lot of things. But what I'm not really understanding is how can you say he's not been blackballed? Because he's a political nightmare. It's no different than, and I'm ashamed to say it, being a Cowboys fan myself, I do not support the fact that there were Cowboys fans threatening to boycott the Cowboys if they hired Colin Kaepernick. Why? It's not un-American to take a knee. So let's get that off the bat. And this is what you got to understand. It's not un-American to take a knee. It's not un-American to stand for social injustice. It's not. So either you're completely a racist or you're ignorant when you say something like that. Now you can sit there and believe that, hey, this is what should be done. This is how things, but until you've walked in someone's shoes that are a minority, you really don't understand the stress, the confusion, and pain that is caused and that you live with. I'm talking to African Americans who grew up, and see, this is what people are, and this video is not designed to go this way. That was not my intent. And Damon, he has been blackballed. I agree with you. Was it right? That's subjective. Of course, it's always subjective. But in this day and age, why are we reverting back 50 years? Why are African Americans scared to let their kids go out? Why are African Americans scared to be pulled over? Why should we be having to print how to act cards when you're pulled over, or when you're will.i.am just posted about how him and a flight attendant, I guess, had some words, and when he got off the plane, the police were waiting for him. So you're not immune. Celebrity status, nothing. You're not immune, and this is proven. So when one celebrity does something on a grand scale that puts his job in jeopardy, then I have to sit there and either question two things. Is it for his own purpose, or is it really for the common good of all? Now, it may be a little of both, and that is possible. As Damien said, it is subjective, his reasoning. But what is not subjective is the fact that he's being blackballed. Racial tension in this country is at an all-time high. No one is speaking out to the fact that the murders and mass suicides or mass killings are being done by apple pie and baseball, young white men or middle-aged white men. No one's talking about that because it's easier to blame the black person. It's easier to blame the minority. I don't see no one as appalled as at this, the way they are, these young Latinas and Latinos being separated from their children, and now there are cases, hundreds of cases of being raped and molested in these detention centers. I don't see anyone saying anything about that. See, right is right, wrong is wrong, and racist is racist. Now, I can tell you there's a difference between being a racist and racial. I'm racial, and meaning that I call it what it is. Do I support racism? Against no one. Not any way, shape, or form. Why hasn't leadership put forth a law that protects unarmed citizens from the police until I see it? And that is something else. Why hasn't the NFL spoken out against it? Because they are being boycotted by the same people that are funding them. They have been told by the police. We have had multiple police departments come out and say that they're not going to support the NFL or even do guard duty because of Colin Kaepernick and his actions and other African Americans. So what does that tell you? Does that mean all police are racist? No. But that has to make you open your eyes and look at the department like, didn't you take an oath to protect and serve? Didn't you take an oath that, but it didn't say anything about color? So this thing is one big melting pot of BS, and racism is the main ingredient. You can say what you want, you can disagree, but you cannot deny the facts. When you see people so angry that they're burning $50 and $200 jerseys, really? If they cost that much. That's subject to how much you paid for it. But let's get back to this. Why are we still having to have the same issues from the 1960s, from the 40s, from 1870 on up, 1865? Why are African Americans still viewed as less than and property? No one's going to sit there and deny that racial tension in this country is at an all-time high. It is. Gun laws are in question. Second Amendment rights are in question. And the one thing that I'm seeing a unification on is some people agree that, hey, we're all one now, and some don't. And a large amount of the NFL supporters, are coming out saying that they don't. Run, catch that ball, boy. Look at LeBron James coming out and saying the NFL is basically a modern plantation. And he has some facts with that. Now, the one thing I'm going to hit on is you can always say, at one point in time, and David Chappelle has said this, my blackness will not allow me to speak on that or say that. Jay-Z has clearly broken that rule. And what you have to really think about, what you really need to think about, you just dropped the album, a single, well, a year ago or so now, talking about racial inequality, talking about investing in the community. And you siding with the devil? Because they own your Damian Reader, because they own our vote, and therefore disposable. The only ones that matter now are the Latino and alphabet voters. That's a hard thing to say, but he's right. There's a push in this country, in the media, to make the lesbian, gay, transgender community the new minority, the new Negro. That way, you push blacks out the way. Now, you can sit there and say what you want. You're transgender, you're black, or you're gay. That ain't just 3 strikes. That's 4, 5, maybe 6, 7. If you thought it was hard then, look at the number of transgender African-American men that are being murdered. Now, do what you do. I'm not against it. You do what you want to do. That's your life. That's your body. However, I do not agree with the agenda being forced down children's throats. And I'm not going to get on that. That's a total nother post. But back to Jay-Z. Shame on you, bruh. Shame on you. I'm going to tell you how we knew it was a problem. We knew it was a problem when Dame Dash came on and said Jay-Z about Jay-Z. Jay gonna do what's good for Jay. And Dame's right. I mean, Dame called it 100%. You can't sit there and say that he's not about self. People are sitting there sugarcoating it. They're saying, oh, he's doing this. Why does everything have to be behind the curtain? Why does everything have to be so, oh, let me side with these people. Let's get a voice at the table. You got a voice at the table. We've had a voice at the table. The voice at the table is those Negroes running up and down that field catching that ball. We didn't need you to come in there and speak for them. They got a players union. Players were taking a knee, and clearly, no one understands what America is, but I can tell you they understand what a deep pocket is, because just like Jerry Jones and all the other owners said, you take a knee, you off my team. So you don't give a shit about police brutality. You all for it. No, you about the dollar. See, when you don't sit there and think about the root of all of this, I guarantee you that if our white, Latino, all other counterparts took a stance of solidarity together and stopped supporting the NFL, things would change. So you have to sit there and understand that if you don't come together as one and start affecting some pockets, things aren't going to change. Boyce Watkins has said it. Other African-American past and present leaders have said it, and I'm saying it. I personally have not watched a football game since this happened with Colin. That I know him personally, but I don't. And the reason why is because I'm looking at people's moral fiber. I'm looking at what's important. See, you have to understand that if you're supporting someone who is, that's like, give you a good example. That's like you having a best friend who you know is clearly beating his wife, and you still hanging out with him. You understand what I'm saying? You act like, oh, that's none of my business. But it is your business. We are all responsible for each other. No child, adult, or human being should have to worry about driving down the street, doing something wrong, and worried about the Gestapo pulling them over, especially when it's nothing to get pulled over for. You have to understand that we are one and the same. And until we have some unification, until these corporate entities understand that we don't care about how you feel, we're going to affect your pocket. Do I want to watch football? Yeah. Do I love the camaraderie? Yes. But I'm not going to support an organization that their main body of athletes and those contributing to their wealth are not being properly represented or taken care of. That's what I'm not going to do. Y'all can sit there and say being at the table. You know what? Let's talk about being at that table since so many people talk about Jay-Z. Now, what's the next step? That's the same thing happened in the Black Panther Party. They brought somebody to the table. You saw that fed. NAACP. Brought somebody to the table. You see how that fed. You keep on trying to side with the devil and you're going to end up being one of his minions. You're going to end up being a devil yourself. Jay-Z and other people in this country have the resources to not need the NFL to make change happen. That is how I know it's BS. That is how I know this was not about change. And on the Colin Kaepernick thing, there was a lot of hidden agendas behind that. There was. The NFL could say one thing, but when you got Black Enterprise, the Wall Street Journal, and a whole bunch of other news media markets saying, hey, look, that's not exactly what happened. Because why not the transparency? Why not keep it like you've done everything else for every other player? Why is Colin Kaepernick being treated so differently than everybody else? You're telling me that you would rather have a player doing substance abuse than taking a stance against police brutality and racism? You would rather have a player beat his wife than have a player who's standing up for injustice. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out, what the deal is. You just fined a player for wearing a headband that said man of God. But you had a white player that was clearly taking a knee and praying on the field. And what they will say is it was a uniform thing and he shouldn't have had that on. Okay. But didn't Tebow have John 3:16 under his eyes? See, you're playing both sides. Of course, the NFL came back and said, "Oh no, man of God, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that." But it should have never been a violation in the first place. This goes back to common sense in the penal system as well. So if you see this big hamster wheel of bullshit, you're gonna see it. And what you gotta understand is when you don't stand for something, and I always say this, you will fall for anything. And right now, we're clearly being divided. If you see 5 people come up and say to you that person ain't crap, and you know these people, then that person ain't crap. I personally have been in situations where someone has lied and said, well, these people said this about you. And I go confront each and every one of them. They're like, no. And then they go confront that person. But you ain't seen nobody change their tone about Jay-Z. You ain't seen nobody in the industry that's down supporting. I'm not. I can't. I'm not going to. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's rude. And I think it's a bunch of coonery to do what he's doing. If you don't feel something, then shut the hell up. Back up. But because your pocket is involved now, brother, now you have something to say. You're saying Colin Kaepernick was doing a publicity stunt? That's what came out of your mouth? What are you doing? What are you saying? Who are you standing up for? How many African Americans on your payroll? See, you got to look at what somebody's doing. I may not support all of Tyler Perry's movies or his motives or things like that, to switch subjects a little bit, but I do support what he's doing because he's trying to make something. And I'm going to tell you something. To me, Jay-Z's statements are spitting in the face of people like Byron Allen and what he's trying to do. which is racial equality across a corporate spectrum. We have to support each other. We have to. I got white friends, black friends, Latino, European, Asian, all of them. And they good dudes. They good women. They good people. And even they'll say, no, that's bullshit. But we're not standing up for ourselves. We're not supporting each other. Like us on Facebook, share it, join the page, go to YouTube, reeducationofanation.youtube.com. Hold on one second. I don't think it's coonery. I think Jay-Z is for Jay-Z. Perhaps we need to stop elevating leaders based on wealth. And yes, I agree, Damien, yes. But see, that goes back to understanding what a leader is. And a lot of people think that leadership is based upon wealth. It's not. Sometimes the poorest person in the world is the strongest person in the world. But we attribute shiny things to intelligence. That's just sleight of hand. That's all that is. Yo, we're on YouTube. This will be loaded up to YouTube as well, and it'll also be loaded up to our podcast, Reeducation of a Nation. Again, I'm Ryan Gardner. I'm your host, guys. I really appreciate it. Damien, thank you for participating as always, brother. Love our conversations. Remember, guys, think with this, not with these. Peace.